Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Positive Psychology Hour. This series is in partnership with Whole Being Institute, and it is curated by Phoebe Atkinson. Today on the Positive Psychology Hour, we're going to be talking about envisioning your family at its best with Michelle Brode. Now, family can be defined in whatever way that resonates for you. It could be your family of choice, your family of birth, your family of creation. These are three potential options that Michelle's going to talk about. Michelle is a professional and a mental health professional and a positive psychology practitioner. She is, this is going to be a playful and inspiring hour devoted to building a vision for our family at its best. And it can be easy right now to lose touch with what is good and fun and resilient with our family, especially when times are hard. So this makes it all the more important and valuable to dip into our positive psychology toolbox to reconnect with the positives, envision greater goodness, and craft small steps in that direction. Michelle Brode is a social worker, certified parent coach, facilitator, collaborator, mom, and artist, and also an author. She is passionate about promoting, strengthening, and building the well-being of our youth by supporting and guiding the adults around them. I am all for that. Michelle graduated with a degree in psychology from the University of Michigan, Go Blue, and holds a master's degree from Case Western Reserve University's Mandel School of Applied Social Sciences. She earned a certificate in positive psychology from Whole Being Institute. And in addition to parent coaching, she consults with schools and youth service organization as a national trainer for the Teen Mental Health First Aid Program. And she's going to show us today, she's the creator of Spacious, a neurographic coloring book. So to learn more, you can visit michellebrode.com. I'll put that in the chat. But welcome to the call, Michelle, and let me get you here on the spotlight. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. I am.
Can we start with your coloring book?
Absolutely.
And can you just show it to us?
Yeah. So this is the front cover of the coloring book. And the idea behind it is that I love all of the adult coloring books that have come out in the past several years, but I've noticed that the spaces in them have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller in a way that it doesn't promote relaxation. It's like if my pencils are not perfectly sharpened, I can't fit them into the tiny spaces. So I created this coloring book where we have wide open spaces. I do also practice Zentangle and sometimes through the JCC in Manhattan. And so these can be fun spaces to use with that, but it's a process called neurographic art, which I'm happy to talk about another time. But I have just found it really, really enjoyable, and I've had a lot of fun sharing it with other people.
Well, thank you so much. You know, we had on our call Catherine, and she was talking about how she had a travel business. And I always like knowing what people's side gigs are, don't you, you guys? Because they're so interesting. In addition, it reminds me of what positive psychology teaches us, which is that it's not just one thing, it's the whole being, right, that we need to incorporate. And these little things, like that coloring book, just made me happy. I just experienced a little upward spiral, and I was like, yeah, you know, I've experienced that. Anybody else with those coloring books? There's so many teeny, teeny, tiny things, right? So I appreciate that, and I could use more spaciousness in my life. So I think you're going to talk about that a little bit today. So I'm going to let you take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I am really grateful to be here. I was telling Caroline that at the very beginning of the pandemic, I attended these lunch and learn sessions with great regularity when my schedule was a little different than it is now. So I'm thrilled to be here and to share some of my practices with you today. You know, relationships bring a sense of meaning and purpose to our lives. We come to know ourselves and to understand the world more deeply through our relationships. Relationships offer us the opportunity to experience connection and support and joy. At the same time, all relationships, family relationships in particular, have their challenges. We can experience loss and strain and disappointment and distance in our families, which can be painful. So I'm glad that you're here today to explore creating a vision of your family at its best, to notice where that good resides, to build bridges back to what is good, and to take steps towards experiencing more of that goodness. I want to share, in addition to that lovely introduction from Caroline, that after I got my master's degree in social work, I've primarily worked in schools and in community mental health agencies. I really found that only after getting my certificate in whole person well-being did I have a firmer sense of what we were aiming for in human services. I had a good idea of what we were trying to mitigate, but I didn't really have a sense of what we were trying to build. And my connection to positive psychology really gave me a sense of what we were trying to build in my work as a social worker, in my life as a mom and a friend and a human being on this earth. So my life has really been enriched by my connection to positive psychology. And as Caroline mentioned, I consult with schools and youth serving organizations. I'm a trainer for teen mental health first aid, and I work as a parent coach as well. In addition to that, I am the mom of 2 teen girls, and so I get to dip into that positive psychology toolbox with regularity to try to keep things moving smoothly. So as we dive into this notion of envisioning our families at our best, I do just want to reiterate, like, the definition of family can be super expansive, right? We have families that we were born into, families we've created, families we've chosen, and however you're defining that for yourself today is welcome. So I want to invite you, before we get started, to think of one thing you want to experience in the course of today's session. I forgot to mention earlier, it's lovely if you have something to write with and something to write on. If that's electronic, fine. If you want to grab a piece of paper, that's fine too. I tend to be old school with the paper and pen, but whatever works for you is fine. And I just want you to think, Caroline, spaciousness. So here we can tap into our list of positive emotions, right? We could think about joy or hope, ease, gratitude, confidence, optimism. And if you want to drop into the chat what it is that you would like to experience over the course of this next hour, I invite you to do that. If you'd like to keep it for yourself on your piece of paper, that is also totally fine. But I encourage you to capture it somewhere, right? We want to have that. So I am going to start. Let's see, hope. I'm going to start sharing my screen, and when I do that, everything rearranges for me. So I just need a moment to get you all back to where I can see you.
And while you're doing that, I'll just read in the chat what folks are putting in there.
Awesome.
Let's see, we've got spaciousness, ease, humor, zest, a page to more joy with my son, or a path to more joy with my son, hope, reconnection, insight, joy, spaciousness, ease, lightheartedness, acceptance of me and others in my family.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So I invite you, I have this little notepad here for myself with all the stuff on it. And I invite you to set down all the stuff that has happened in your day or in your week so far, just so you can be here for this hour. And if you need to write down the words, all the stuff, and just set it aside next to you, it'll be there for you to come back to at the end of this hour. Or if you'd rather not come back to it, you can toss it in the garbage. But just an invitation to set down all the stuff.
And Michelle, did you want us to be seeing your screen and your email?
No. I'm going to stop that. This is frustrating.
That's all right. We did it once before. We're going to get it.
Yeah, we are going to get it. Okay, give me a sec.
Sure. We have a few more entries.
Thank you.
Peace, says Amy, and then Rabbi Deborah Orenstein, who will be also joining us as we prepare for Passover. Calm, peace as well. Oh, there we go. Now it's up.
Do you just have my slide now?
And it says all the stuff.
All the stuff. Okay, very good. Now we have the correct one. Thank you for helping me out with that.
Sure.
Always good to have a co-pilot. Okay, So I just want to point out that, and forgive me, um, today is really all about the and, right? Things are really hard right now, and we can also notice what's good, right? This is kind of a core tenet of positive psychology. I think about several years ago, my aunt, who actually attended my first session, or she came to Kripalu with me while I was doing my first positive psychology session. She landed in the hospital with pneumonia while she was on vacation. And like what a horrible time to get pneumonia and be in the hospital and then have to go to rehab. And I called her while she was recovering and I was just like, Aunt Mickey, I can't believe that this happened during your vacation. And she said, oh, Michelle, the doctors have been so wonderful. The nurses have been so attentive. Everybody is taking such good care of me. And it was such a beautiful example of what we focus on, right? And that here, with this really disappointing thing having happened, this really disruptive event, she was telling me about everything that was good about it. And so that's our invitation for today, right? To in this time where we've been through a lot of uncertainty and loss and disruption, even in the worst situations, we know there's kindness. We know we can tap into humor. And so turning our attention to what's good does not mean that we're denying the painful or squeezing out what's hard, but it's about holding both of those at the same time. So let me just say, I would normally stop screen sharing at this point, but since it seems there's a lot of like rearranging that needs to be done, I will say this while I have my slides up, is that we might be using some unfamiliar muscles this hour. So I invite you to try new things. I invite you to give yourself grace, and I invite you to participate in whatever way feels comfortable for you. So let's get started. In the chat, I would love for you to just name some of the people you are thinking of when you are thinking of your family. So if you want to name names, that's fine, or it could be like my sister, my partner, my roommates, whatever it is. I'd love to hear in the chat, who are some of the people you're thinking of or their relationship to you? Wait a moment for some of those to come in. Great. Sister Dream Team. Ex, my boys, my parents, everyone from my partner, daughters, sisters, family, close friends, sister, father, son, aunt, self, dear, dear friends, my dog. Okay, they're coming fast enough now that I'm going to miss some, but parents, aunts, uncles, half siblings that we don't think of as half siblings. Right, so many people that we think of in our lives. And what I would love for you to do is, in a moment, I'm going to share a list of traits. And these are character strengths that if you've attended a lot of these sessions, you are probably well familiar with. And these are traits that are found in folks from people around the world. And what I would love for you to do when I bring these character strengths up is to write the names down of several people in your family. I want you to put yourself on the list. You are an important part of your family. And next to the name, write down some of the traits or some of the character strengths that you see in those people. I will also put these directions in the chat, but here we go. I will bring up those character strengths, and I invite you to write down the people in your family and the strengths that you see in them. And I'll give us a couple of minutes to do this. The directions are in the chat as well. Since some of us may have more people in our circle of family than others, if you have extra time while people are still writing, you can jot down some examples on your paper of when you see these traits expressed. Right? So you may notice that somebody is a great leader. Where does their leadership come out? How do you see that? We'll take about another 30 seconds with this. And if you need more time later, you're welcome to take it when we're done here together. Okay. So what I'd like you to think about next is, what is one thing, choose one person on your list. It could be you, it could be somebody else, and choose one thing that you could do in the next week to help this person express one of their strengths more. So for instance, my 18-year-old has an appreciation of beauty and excellence, and she is obsessed with clouds. So she takes cloud pictures all the time. And if I wanted to help bring this trait out this week, I could ask her to show me her recent cloud pictures. She does that with great enthusiasm. I could encourage her to make a calendar for the grandparents with her favorite cloud pictures. So there are all sorts of ways that we can support somebody in expressing one of their strengths more over the next week. So let me give you a moment to imagine one way that you could do that for one person in your family. Fabulous. So I'm noticing in the chat we've got Esperanza saying gratitude, kindness, love. Bunny says, I love all the words that are currently shown on the screen. And those are the VIA character strengths, the values in action. And you can read up on those more, but they are kind of 24 traits that have been shown to exist in folks from around the world in every culture. And so to tap into those for ourselves and our loved ones, we help to bring out the best in each other. Rabbi Ornstein says, for love of learning, ask my husband more about what he's reading. And Esperanza says, by the example, right? So many ways that we can bring these out. Rabbi Ornstein again says, for social intelligence, watch horrible reality show with my daughter, which she loves, and ask her opinion, right? So we can take this thing that we do not treasure, watching reality TV shows, with somebody who does treasure it, and use it as a way of bringing something valuable out in them, right? Like, what are you seeing? What do you think that dynamic is? Why did they do that? And you can just have some great conversations around that. So thank you, thank you. All right, so we're going to move on to our next piece of the puzzle for ourselves today. And you may want to title this next section on your paper, 3 Good Things. And if you're familiar with positive psychology practices, you are probably familiar with 3 good things, but we're going to do it in a slightly different way today. Our approach today is going to be to think about 3 good things about your family, right? It could be about your family as a whole. It could be about a particular family member. It could be we're really there for each other when things get rough. Or it could be like that silly picture we took at the beach in 1988 makes me laugh every time I see it, right? So let's think of 3 good things that you think that you can think of about your family. And I will put that direction in the chat for you as well. Writing down 3 good things about your family. So some of you may still be working on those. Some of you may already be done. So let me invite you to think of a next step if you have already finished. And again, I'm putting this in the chat. I invite you to find a time each day, or most days, we don't need to be perfect, to write down 3 good things about your family, right? It could be 3 good things that happened that day. It could be 3 good things that you remember. But I invite you to make it a practice, right? So for each one of these practices that we're talking about today, we'll have what we do here together, and then an invitation for a next step. So your invitation for a next step is to find a time each day, or most days, to write things down that are good about your family. You could try to pick a time to do it, right? Right before you go to bed, first thing when you wake up, maybe set a reminder on your phone or put a post-it note somewhere to remind you to do this. The more we seek out the positive, the more we focus on it, the more we get to experience those positive emotions. And again, none of this denies or negates the challenges, right? We're adding in the and. Life is really stressful for our family these days, and these positive things happened. Eva says, we talk about real things. We try to be there for each other in our own ways. We love watching movies together. Esperanza says, connection, enjoy, and learn. And Rabbi Ornstein says, my teens still want to go on vacation. Very social with extended family and good moral compass. Right? So even in the midst of challenging times, we can seek out those good things. And the more we put our attention there, the more we tap into it. Caroline says, we like to laugh, we value honesty, we want to include everyone. Right? And it is possible, sometimes we have to dig deep, it's true, but it is possible to regularly return to this practice and find what there is. What are those 3 good things about your family? I invite you to make a practice of that for the next week, next couple of weeks, and see what it does. And then if you really want to shoot for the stars, maybe expressing some of that to the people around you, right? And just, Rabbi Ernstein saying, I really appreciate that you folks still want to go on vacation with us. Not every teenager likes to do that. Love having you with us, right? So whatever it is, when we experience those positive emotions and share them with others, we're building and strengthening those connections. All right. So the next section I want to go to is about honoring our own needs. So let me forward here a little bit. I would like you to think about, first of all, what do you need more of right now? What do you need more of right now? I'm going to put some options up on the screen. This is just the beginning of a list. Some may resonate with you, some may not. And choose what you need more of right now. It could be quiet or meaning. It could be rest, nature, ease or laughter, simplicity, movement, time with good people, downtime. Just a moment to think about, what do you need more of right now? In the chat, Rebecca notices I need more connection and less isolation. Rabbi Arnstein says acceptance, peace with what is. Judy says reconnecting and finding more joy or humor. Eva says sleep and time with good people, more joy. Yeah, good things that we can attend to in noticing our own needs. I'm going to move to the next slide, sticking with the idea of what our needs are in this moment, and just ask, what do we need less of right now? Sometimes honoring our needs involves setting some things aside. So there's some ideas here for you that I'll share on screen. But think for yourself also. Add to the list. What do you need less of now? Could be less hassle, less whining, less fear, less uncertainty, less screen time, less comparison, less annoyance, less laundry. Can range from the practical to the philosophical. Amy says, less worry over things that might never come to pass, pessimism. Judy says, all of the items mentioned. Liz says, less anger, worry, fear. Rabbi Ernstein says, less worry. Debbie, less expectations of myself and others have of me. Yeah. So let's look at the next question, which is, what do you really want right now? And I know in asking this question that there can be tenderness around wanting what we don't have in this moment. So if you're finding that there are some thoughts or feelings around that question, I invite you to be gentle with yourself, right? Take a few calming breaths if you need to. Know that the life cycle of an emotion is pretty short. And tell yourself it's okay to feel this way. This feeling won't last forever. And if and when you feel ready, I invite you to come back to thinking, what do you really want right now? You just thought of some things you want less of. For that, you thought of some things you want more of. You really want right now. Take a moment to write that down. In the chat, I see balance and joy, a healthy, abundant future for my children, a good man, happiness, joy, peace, joy. I'm getting a theme here. Acceptance, focus, good friends, laughter, hope for the future, a sense of purpose, and a goal. Awesome. Thank you for sharing, folks. So let me ask, if this want, this desire that you have right now came to be, if you made this happen for yourself, how would you feel if this came into your life? What would it do for you to bring what you really, really want into your life? It might not be something you can do by yourself, right? It might not be a one-person job. But if you were working towards this, how would you feel? In the chat, exhilarated, more at peace with myself, happy, fulfilled to a point, loved, peaceful. Whatever you're capturing for yourself right now, peace, serenity, all the ways that we can think of how this would impact us. My next question is, and it's coming up on the screen, how would your feeling this way, how would your sense of peace or serenity, how would your sense of greater fulfillment, how would your sense of exhilaration contribute to the well-being of your family? If you were to feel this way, How would that contribute to your family? Judy says a positive outlook has a ripple effect on others. I think so often we feel like taking good care of ourselves can feel selfish. There is so much asking for our attention. There's so much asking for our time. There's so many people who need so much that attending to our own needs, honoring our own needs, can feel a little misaligned. But I think when we look at what would attending to our own needs do for us, and how would that impact the people we care about, right? Esperanza says simplicity, more contact, right? So the better we are attending to our own needs, the better we can attend to the needs of folks around us. And I know there's a lot of push-pull around that, but the closer that we are to feeling calm and centered, the better able we are to help our family stay calm and centered, right? In the chat, it would be like the harmonizing that happens when a choir sings together. We'd all be vibrating at a higher level and feeling more joy and more connection, right? We cannot, in a sustainable way, in a healthy way, in a happy way, continue to pour from an empty cup. We can do it, but it has some negative repercussions, right? And we don't get that higher vibrational level, right? We get a breakdown of that. So when we imagine taking exquisite care of ourselves, we know that we are contributing to the well-being of others. In the chat, connecting more. Also in the chat, I think my kids would feel relieved if I worried less and spoke openly and expansively about their future. I think that would build trust and self-actualization in them too, right? So we can imagine if we attend to our needs and are feeling the positive effects of that, how that can ripple out to others. So what I would love for you to do now is to jot down for yourself, welcome to share it in the chat as well if you'd like, what's the smallest step you could take in the direction of attending to your needs, of honoring your needs? So for example, if you need more downtime and you have small children at home, could you make a sign that says, unless you are sick or bleeding, please do not knock? Right? As a parent coach, I worked with a family recently where that was revolutionary to the mom's ability to get her work done so that she could go spend time with her kids, which is really what she wanted. She just couldn't do it in the 30-second snippets that they were asking of her all day, right? So if you need something, more space, more time, more calm, what is the smallest step you could take in that direction? And I'll acknowledge that sometimes it's hard to figure out how to take a small step in that direction. And that's why we get stuck and overwhelmed. And so find a buddy to brainstorm with, right? Sometimes other people are so much better at seeing the possibilities and the openings in our lives than we can for ourselves. Get to sleep earlier regularly makes such a difference, right? That's a small thing that potentially you could do in the next few days, right? And watch how that impacts you, okay? So I invite all of you to capture some small step that you could take, okay? So the next part is one of my favorite parts of what we're going to do together today. In a moment, I am going to share some images with you. And I'm also going to share a prompt. I'll share it out loud. I'll put it in the chat for you. And the invitation is, as you're looking at these images, to find the image that feels like it's the best response to the prompt I gave you. I will tell you, there are no right answers. There are no wrong answers. I'm somebody who likes to get things right And so sometimes things like this can feel a little provocative, right? Like, what's the right answer? But there's no right answer. Just choose an image or let an image jump out at you. You could take a screenshot of the image. You could take a photo of it on your phone. You could write down what it is and then write a sentence or two about how it relates to the prompt. Okay, so let me share the first prompt with you, and then I will share the images with you. The first prompt is a memory I savor about our family is, oops, and then here are some images. So a memory I savor about our family. Find an image that speaks to you right now and jot down, how does that relate to a memory that you savor about you? I'll give you a moment to do this. In a moment, I'm going to move to our next prompt and our next set of images. So capture what you want to for this one. Okay. I'm going to advance the slide, give you a new prompt, but just remember you can come back and fill in anything else you want to later. So here's our next set of images, and our next prompt is, what makes me proud of our family is. What makes me proud of our family?
Between now and 1.
We'll take another moment with this prompt and this set of images. And I'm going to move on to our last set of images and our last prompt. And that prompt is, forgive me, what I appreciate about our family is. And again, just find an image that reflects something that you appreciate about your family. Take a moment to write a few sentences about it. one more moment with this prompt. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. And I invite anybody who would like to share either out loud or in the chat an image you chose and what connection you made with it. I am also a collage artist. So had we been in a room together, I would have brought a big crate of magazines and had you dig through them and find the images that reflected that. But in this Zoom setting, I get to choose the images ahead of time and you get to choose the ones that resonate.
Michelle, I can jump in, to
Great,
start our conversation. So I chose that image of fireworks. My family gets together annually at July 4th, and we have seen the fireworks together, whether it's out on the lake in a boat, or whether it's going to the small town and watching them, burst on a blanket above us. So there's a love of fireworks, and we've shared pictures of fireworks, or if we're at the fireworks and we're not with one another, we'll take a little video and share it with them. And so it just seems like a very celebratory moment for our family.
Thank you, Carolyn. In the chat,
anyone else want to jump in? Yeah.
I see Judy in the chat. She says, I chose the gift wrapped box. It reflects the love, respect, appreciation, honesty we all have for each other. Gift. So other people may be typing, which is fine, but let me invite you to think about how we can take this forward, right? How can we take or keep these images in front of us, keep the ideas that you connected to them in front of you? So for example, with savoring a memory, how could you bring a piece of that memory into the present, right? Could you tell someone the story? Could you find photos related to that time? So I want you to jot down for yourself when you think about, what memories you savored, what makes you proud of your family, what you appreciate about your family. How can you bring those more fully into the present for yourself? Think of one small way that you could do that. Capture that in your own notes. I was hearing recently about a woman in her 80s who used to, their family were big Scrabble players. And those were just some of her favorite memories, was playing Scrabble. And she kept a few Scrabble pieces on her coffee table just to have that connection to the time in her life where playing Scrabble was a central part of their family. In the chat, I see a gift for others with presence and help. Journal about it or include visuals in your artwork, like in collage. Yep. If you saw an image here today that you loved, if you didn't happen to capture it digitally for yourself somehow, you can just go to Google and say, gift wrapped box, and then click on the images button. That's an option towards the top there. And you can find a picture of a gift wrapped box. Make that your screensaver. Email it to yourself. Do what you want to bring that into your life. Susan says display photos where they can be seen all the time, right? So we can bring these more into our spaces, into our consciousness in a greater way, because we know that they connect to positive emotions, positive experiences, and just make those more present for ourselves. So I want to pause here and say, as you look over your notes from today's session, you can see that in addition to doing some dreaming, we've made some plans, right? I heard people talking about going out to look at the moon or focusing on what makes you feel better. And if you have a favorite plan that you feel like sharing in the chat, feel free to do so, right? Of the things we've talked about, focusing on strengths in your family, paying attention to 3 good things about your family, honoring your needs, maybe just 10% more, or staying connected to what you savor, what you appreciate, what makes you proud, and think about what favorite plan do you have of the list of plans that we created today. You're also welcome to unmute yourself if you would prefer that over writing in the chat. So dreaming, planning. What are some of your plans?
And I'll go. I was thinking, yeah, Michelle says, can you repeat?
Yes. So over the course of our session today, we've reflected on several things like strengths within our family, 3 good things about our family, ways to honor your needs, connecting to memories you savor, things you appreciate. And along with that, we kind of came up with next steps, right? How can we bring out some of those strengths? How can we tap into moving towards what we need, etc.? And what are some of those what are some of the plans that you have written down for next steps with these reflections? Thank you for asking that, Michelle. I am sure you were not the only person wondering that. Debbie says to slow down and savor the food that I eat instead of rushing. Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, I picked the hummingbirds and my family loves to feed the birds. And just every time I see a bird, I can connect that to my family, right? Because I see birds in my everyday life when I walk around. And if I have a picture of a bird, or if I notice a bird, if I take a picture, if I share it with my family, that's another way. But just even looking them at birds and thinking, oh, my family loves birds.
Nice, nice. So taking this experience that you might have multiple times a day, and I like that it may be seeing birds, it might be hearing birds, right? You've got multiple channels to experience that, and just bringing that back to that connection that you have with your family. Claire says writing 3 good things about family members. Yeah. Michelle, slow down and be more intentional in the moment in order to reinforce the behaviors and the memories I want to develop now or to continue. Joy says our extended family living in many states is there for each other virtually in times of crisis and in joy. Yeah, such gifts. Nancy says share the thoughts and feelings and memories that came up from my images with my family. Yeah. You can take the gifts of this time that you gifted yourself today and extend that to others, right? Making plans, Patrice says, for our first real vacation in almost 3 years, which have been the best time ever. Such a great thing about vacations, right? You get to take the vacation while you're planning it. You get to take the vacation while you're on it. And then you get to take the vacation when you tell others about it or go through your photos or whatever. It's one of those experiences that we can experience in so many ways. So before we wrap up here, I want to do 2 things. I want you to think back or look at the top of your page to the word that you wrote down at the beginning of our time together. the one thing you wanted to feel in the time that we had together today. And just notice, to what extent did you connect with that? And notice what else might you want to do to deepen that experience over the course of your day, right? To what extent did you experience spaciousness and ease and humor? To what extent did you find a new path to more joy with your son, or experience reconnection or insight or ease, right? So I just tapped into a few of those now. There were lots more, but check in with that and just notice what you might want to do to extend that experience. And I just want to note kind of what we've done. It's a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, but some of the practices we used today were things like setting an intention, right? If we go into a situation and say, this is what I want to experience in that situation, we're already orienting our thinking that way. And so you may not have thought of it as setting an intention at the beginning when you wrote down a word of what you wanted to experience, but that's what we do. We create an intention and then we can check in with it. We invited the and, right? Things are hard and things can be good. We gave ourselves permission to be human, to try new things and offer ourselves grace. We tapped into character strengths and gratitude with those 3 good things. We looked at honoring our own needs. We use sentence stems in looking at those photos, right? So something I appreciate about my family, something you can do this around the dinner table or on a Zoom call, right? Something that makes me laugh within our family is, or a memory I treasure is, right? We can make those up on the spot and invite others around us to do that. We played with visual images, which just taps into a different part of our brain, a different way of connecting. And we paired dreaming with planning, right? And so when we not only think about the good, but we plan for steps we can take in that direction, then we're pairing dreaming with planning in a way that's really powerful. I want to share a couple other things from the chat, which is that Anne says, worrying only takes me out of the incredible richness and abundance we're living today. Speaking into what is will stretch those strengths and carry them forward. Thank you. And Susan said, make it a practice to think positively about the family. Absolutely. And it can take, it can take work, right? That needs to be something that we attend to. But I'm hoping that by gifting yourself with the time to be here today, that you got a chance to connect to that. I will put my email address and my website in the chat again. And please feel free to reach out. I would love to connect with you and hear how these things have resonated with you. I just wish you all a good rest of your Tuesday and a good rest of your week.
Michelle, amazing. Oh my gosh. Wow. There is so much. This is so rich. I heard someone in this chat say, gosh, this is exactly what I needed right now. And, again, going back to whether it's our chosen family, our family of birth, those that we, what did you say? You had 3 in there that we talked about.
Birth, creation, choice.
Yeah. I'm thinking of a group of friends that this could be applied to. It could be my colleagues at work. It could be, my animals, and the ones that it could be even my relationship with anything. So this is just very, very useful. And I wanted to let everybody know that this is you can listen to this again and again, right? If you all don't know that, you can find these recordings on the Whole Being Institute website, and you can just look under the search bar JCC Positive Psychology Hour, and you can get all of these recordings. And this is definitely one that I'm going to listen to again. Anybody else? Yeah, just to get the prompts and to ask myself again and again, wait a second, where's the and? Yeah, and how can I give myself what I need right now? And it just seems so simple, This is what always makes me marvel, right? That these practices, just feeling 2% better, can create an opening. And in that opening, remember, in little cracks in the rock, what can grow? Amazing things, right? So really, really appreciate you spending your time with us. Again, I wanted to let everybody know that this week we have Megan McDonough and Phoebe Atkinson joining us, joining me for kind of a recap. It's been 2 years, y'all. Can you believe it? And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to sort of talk about how to build a larger container to hold. Exactly. Michelle, you helped us do that, right? To make a larger container so that we're not always thinking about ourselves, but we're also thinking about others and how to fold into and recap what's happened over the last year, after the last 2 years, and what does it look like going forward? And certainly our family is going to be with us. So this work today has been really, really impactful, and I really appreciate you. And I want your coloring book. I want to know more about that, because we have to, what did you call it?
Neurographic art.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of brain stuff, which we love here at the JCC. So don't you think, you guys, we have to have her back? I'm getting a lot of ups. So I'm going to take off the spotlights. I'm going to let people unmute. Please thank our speaker today, and thank you all for coming. This was really insightful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I say,
thank you.
Yeah, such a pleasure to be with you all today. Thank you. Yes,
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you, Caroline. And thank you, Phoebe.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Take care. Be well. We'll see you on Thursday. And bye, Judy.